Part 28, A Matter of Size in the Masters and Controllers series. Soon, it will become clear where I am headed with this series. Why is it so important to know these things? This is about understanding your true world and how things really work. This information is vital for you to survive the AMCO and the period after, and for you to understand all the forces at play, including how the masters and controllers have ruled and dominated this plane for eons. The key to all of your questions is understanding your true history, and that is why they put so much effort into hiding it. I'm going to ask you to bear with me as I discuss these basic concepts, but know that I am setting up the stage for answering some really big questions. And today, I'm talking about size. We must start with some basic facts before going any further. In my last video, I talked about Bigfoot, and I briefly showed an example of the size of Sasquatch, or in the controller's model, Gigantopithecus. So Bigfoot is big, really big. But how can this be? Why is he so big? First, let's focus on the fact that there are many variances of size just within the same species. This is an image of Manute Bol and Muggsy Bogues, both professional basketball players, both human, but very different heights. This is Robert Wadlow, the tallest man ever in modern medical history. Last measured on June 27, 1940, he was found to be 8 foot 11 inches tall. This is Chandra Dangi. He was a Nepal man who is the shortest man in modern recorded history. He stood at 1 foot 9.5 inches tall. So there are huge variances within the same species. To further prove this point, let's look at the size variances within the same family of animals in nature. For example, cats. This is a Siberian tiger. The biggest tiger ever recorded in the wild was a Siberian tiger, and it weighed 771 pounds. The shortest cat is Lilliput, a 9-year-old female munchkin cat who measured 5.25 inches from the floor to the shoulders. And there are huge variances in size within the same family of animals that are domesticated. This is a Great Dane and a Chihuahua. And even though there is a huge size difference, they can interbreed. Just with forces we are familiar with, you can have a huge size difference, but it's all based on perspective. A Great Dane faced with a Chihuahua for the first time would think the Chihuahua a dwarf, and the Chihuahua would think the Great Dane is a giant. Now let's go back to Bigfoot or Sasquatch. If we stood in front of a Bigfoot, we would think he is a giant. Shaquille O'Neal would seem like a giant to an average-sized man, and even bigger to a short person. The three most commonly talked about forces that affect size within the same species are environment, nutrition, and genetics. For an example of how environment determines size, let's take the African elephant versus a forest elephant. An example of a small forest elephant is the pygmy dwarf elephants. Forest elephants are small so that they can maneuver through the thick vegetation of their environment easily. African elephants are the largest because they have less obstacles in the way of vegetation around them, so they can grow to full size. The more vegetation, the smaller the size. The less vegetation, the larger the size. Nature naturally dictates size. Next, let's talk about nutrition. An example of nutrition dictating size is the height differences between races of humans. On average, as a race of people, Asians are smaller in size. This is because they generally have rice-based diets. Caucasians and most Africans are taller because they are generally eating wheat-based diets. Next, let's talk about genetics. Genetics is the most obvious determining factor of size as a whole. If you come from a tall family, you will be more likely to be tall, and vice versa, excluding instances of gigantism and dwarfism. And with all that I have mentioned, the masters and controllers know this. Through selective breeding, nutrition, genetics, and environment, they know how to get the desired traits that they want for their domesticated animals. Now let's talk about selective breeding. People do it all the time. We can look to dog breeding for examples of how selective breeding works. The reason we have so many breeds of dogs is the result of selective breeding over time. Breeding consists of breeding for desired physical, mental, and personality traits, breeding in wanted traits, and breeding out unwanted traits. For example, if you need a dog for a cold climate, you breed to get the coat of a wolf in the wild. Siberian Huskies were bred with the coat similar to a wolf. If we want to breed a dog with a thick layer of hair, we choose to interbreed two dogs with the thickest hair and get something like an Old English sheepdog. If you want no hair, you breed out that trait to get something like a Mexican hairless. Those genetic traits carry to the offspring. If you want short legs, you breed two dogs with short legs, and so on. This is what has created so many variances in appearance of dogs over time. The masters have done the same thing with their domesticated herd, humans, breeding over time for many different desired traits and intelligence or lack of intelligence to do many different types of functions. But there is another force that is kept a secret, a sacred cow of the controllers. The secret and never talked about force that determines size is the ever-changing electromagnetic pull force of our plane, described by the controllers as gravity. Why hide the fact that gravity is not permanently consistent and never changing? That's right, I said it is not permanent and never changing. Well, you are about to find out why in my next videos, because by hiding these secrets from the world, they keep everyone in the dark. If people knew the secrets about these basic forces that we are bringing to the surface, then people would figure out the truth about our real history, and everything that had been a mystery would suddenly make sense. My series is about to get a whole lot juicier. That's all I have for you guys today. Everybody stay safe, be good to one another, and God bless.